You're listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner.
Hey guys, Charge Hayner present Zoom the TBT, and we are working on a Peoria regional preview. In Charge, we are going to the upper right. And what is happening here in this little pod?
Yeah, no, this is going to be a really, really exciting pod. Obviously, Boeheim's Army has kind of dominated the TBT news cycle recently, and we'll get into a little bit of that here shortly. Forces of Seoul, kind of a little bit of international flavor, so kind of TBT's foray into that area of the world. So it should be interesting to see what Forces of Seoul bring to the table. We also have the overlooked Murray State team, so first time alumni team entering in, looks to be very, very strong. Got a 6 seed for a first year team is quite the accomplishment. And then the wild card here is this Heartfire team. I think Heartfire got an 11. I think they crashed and burned last year, and there's still some of that bad taste in the mouth. But I think this Heartfire team's a lot better than the 11 seed that they garnered. So this is going to be a really interesting one. Forces of Seoul's unknown, but I think between Boeheim, Murray State, and Heartfire, these are three really quality teams that we're going to be excited to watch do battle.
And Charge, who are our guests tonight?
Well, funny that you ask. We have GM Kevin Belbey of Boeheim's Army. How you doing tonight, Kevin?
Doing great, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. And we also have GM Jeff Martin of the overlooked, the Murray State alumni team. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. And Jeff, we're going to right into your matchup. First, talk a little bit about what's going on in this overlooked versus Heartfire game. Obviously, Isaiah Canaan's like that's a great engine to have. Putting up 14 a game in a top league in Russia, showing with a lot of athletes, guys playing in the G League, guys playing in Spain. So how is this team going to try to play from a style of play standpoint?
Style of play, we hope to play fast. We're going to go through a mini camp next week, and we're just going to stress pushing the pace, getting out in transition, turning defense to offense. That's our plan, get into a lot of ball screens, let our guards go to work. That's our plan.
Yeah, no, excited to see Kanan play. Obviously, this guy's not too far removed from the NBA. So, as far as recruiting goes, he had to be one of the first players that you look to when you put together a Murray State team.
Yeah, no, he's one of the guys who pretty much helped me get this going. Back in October, he was the first guy who committed to saying he wanted to participate. He wanted to be involved with the TBT. And from there, he was able to branch out, him and myself, and, get these other guys on board. It's kind of like a trickle-down effect. Once everybody heard Isaiah was down to play, the other guys were like, oh, let's do it then. Sounds like we're serious this year, and let's get into it. So he's been a big help in getting this together.
I think what's interesting about this team construction, too, is we see a lot of teams where there is like a lot of guys, some guys who are playing recently, some guys who haven't played in a while. Almost all of your team has played pretty recently, and they're all playing at decent level leagues with a good mix of young and old, and they're all starters. They're all contributing 25, 30 minutes a night, double-digit scores. So you have a lot of weapons. How do you plan on sort of dividing up the shares of business? Like how is this going to work from a roster standpoint, minutes and construction? Like how's it going to work out?
That's something that we'll probably figure out during training camp next week. But, of course, we have high-level guys like Isaiah and Shaq, Rashid, these guys who are high-level players. Of course, they get bulk of the minutes. And then we have great guys off the bench, Moss, West, Dante, BJ. Those guys are experienced. They're veterans. That's kind of the big thing that came for us is we have a lot of veterans who understand how to play together, how to win. And so, we don't think that playing time is going to be too much of a factor. Everybody's here invested in trying to win. So we're just about getting the best guys out there.
Yeah, so unrelated to this matchup, but I'm just curious. Obviously, when you jumped on, Jeff, we talked about that you do work for Iona currently, and I think one of the biggest shockers this year, and I'm sure you've been a fan of the TBT, is this Gale Nation team did not make it in this tournament. So what was that all about?
I have no idea, man. I know people from Iona have asked me about it, and I have no idea because I thought they were going to get in. I definitely got it. I saw their roster, I saw the players. I thought they had a really good shot to get in. I don't know what happened there for them.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been probably one of the most underrated teams for a while now. They come in and win at least the first round every year, so completely shocked. But so you're Hearts with Iona in the background, but obviously Murray State, straight ahead as we head into TBT.
Exactly. Unfortunately, they couldn't get in, but we're focused here.
That would have been a fun matchup if it was overlooked on it. You could have actually been a double agent and kind of screwed around. Kevin, what were you thinking there?
I got something I want to say. I just want to make a public public statement, a public service announcement that I think without question, Gale Nation is one of the toughest teams in TBT history, the most underrated team in TBT history. That you know, a couple ball bounces go a different way. You know, maybe we're not in the tournament anymore, and they are. You know, we played some really epic games with them, including a double over. I mean, this is pre-Elam Mending. We played a double overtime 106-100 final in Philadelphia a few years ago. But the reality is we beat them a couple times, and you know, they had to run into us and some other teams that have been around in TBT a long time, and they could score with anybody, play with anybody, beat anybody. So definitely disappointing, because I know you know, they've worked really hard to build a good program there. So bummer to see them not make it. But I think that their legacy in TBT lives on for sure. Just want to
100%. I think they're probably the biggest snub of any team not put in. It was them or 20th and only. Those are the two that we've been talking about a lot of not getting in. So Jeff, looking a little bit at this matchup, you got Team Heartfire, a lot of guys who played high major ball, a lot of Michigan State, a lot of Midwestern guys, a pretty physical team, a lot of talent. Is the plan going to be to speed them up and kind of not let them play bully ball?
That is the goal, man. Because looking at the roster, that's a big team. They have a big team. They have a lot of bigs there. Size-wise, you know, it's tough matchups, but their guards are also really good. They're all around. The roster is constructed really well. Like B. Fields is a guy that I worked with last year with the Texas Legends when I was an intern basketball ops there. He had a great season last year. JJ, who played against him in the G League, like these are all high-level players. So, you know, it's going to be tough, but the goal is to try to keep it a fast-paced game, not let things get slowed down.
Okay, and Kevin, obviously, you guys have a credible first-round opponent, but have you started thinking a little bit about a potential matchup with Heartfire overlooked? Obviously, two credible teams. If you're lucky enough to get past Forces of Seoul, have you started thinking about that matchup at all a little bit, or is it just one game at a time?
it's a little cheesy, but a little bit of one game at a time as well. I mean, we really haven't gotten too much into Forces of Seoul either, to be honest, you know, with us having training camp next week. I think, again, another cliche, but we just feel like if we do what we can do, it's, you know, we're not worried about who's in front of us.
Fair
All right,
enough. Yeah,
perfect.
it's definitely a big TBT thing, is like basically thinking the team in front of you is less important than how you play yourself. Like, because of the nature of the event, what you bring to the table is almost more important than your opponent. So let's get into this, Matt. Go ahead.
Too, the way, Hainer, I've looked at it in the past is I spend too much time at looking at some of the other teams, and it's like, oh, Mike Bibby's on this team over here, Brian Scalabrini's on this team, and you start to almost psych yourself out a little bit thinking about other teams too much. And we've always always played on the second weekend, which we will again this year. And half of those teams, you know, more than half, a lot of those, literally half of the teams are knocked out, right, just by math. So
yeah,
if you're worried about this team or that team, you're kind of wasting your time, in my opinion.
All right, so Hainer pulled up the screen, Boeheim versus Forces of Seoul. So Kevin, obviously, we're just going to go right after this whole transition from truly a Boeheim's alumni team to a blend of overseas elite and Boeheim. So how did this all start to take fruition? And obviously, some very strong opinions on what took place.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think for us, I always say this, we have a lot of fun playing, but we're not playing for fun. We're playing for money. We're playing for a life-changing opportunity. So there's no point in shortchanging that. We're giving it everything we have. We're not holding anything back, letting every, you know, bullet go in the chamber. And that's what we've done with this roster. I mean, I think we have some of the best all time to wear orange. And we've also brought in some, what we'll call grad transfers, to kind of round things out, and bringing in some of the best players in TBT history, the Andre Kane, DJ Kennedy. I think Tyrese Rice is the best point guard in the tournament, and Kiefer Sykes is really almost basically on the same level. You know, I think that those guys are going to be a sick combo. So look, I think I've had different conversations with Syracuse fans too, and for the most part, they support what we're doing because we want to win. And in a perfect world, this would be 100% a Syracuse roster, but you know, I can't get Carmelo Anthony to come and play for a chance at $1 million when he's trying to sign another big contract in the NBA. You know, like other guys, Tyler Ennis, Rakeem Christmas wanted to play and were injured. So, you know, start to think about who can kind of round us into great shape. And it led us to those four guys. And I don't think it's unique. I mean, I think Marquette is about 4 non-Marquette guys. And Ohio State starts at least 1 non-Ohio State guys. So, yeah, look, we're pumped about the roster that we have, and the important thing is everybody believes in the system and is on the same page.
Yeah, obviously, I think with the pickups makes you guys instant favorite to win it all. Obviously, sitting at a number 3 seed, so the timing of the player announcements and the seeding probably had a little bit of an impact on that. You mentioned Sykes, so that, I think that's kind of crazy. As good as he is, no one's even talking about him because Kennedy and Kane are getting all the shine. And it's just a comment on the whole alumni thing. I used to feel a lot different about the alumni teams, and some of the folks out there saying you're probably going to have 2, maybe 3 starters that are non-alumni. But to your point, the fan base dictates what's an alumni team. And looking at Twitter and some of the social media comments, I'd say it's probably 95% positive that the fans are excited to have these guys on there and to push you with a good core of Syracuse guys with overseas elite to bring a championship home to Syracuse. So, to me, it doesn't matter. You can have 2 Syracuse guys, but if, hundreds of thousands of Syracuse fans show up to support the team, then so be it. But alumni team, no matter how the mix or how the starters shake out, in my opinion.
Hang on, though. Real quick, though, Kevin, I don't think that's necessarily fair because I don't think it'll just be 2 starters. Kevin, go ahead. I think there will be 3 or 4 Syracuse starters. Kevin, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I think if I put together a team with Eric Devendorf and 9 random dudes, as a Syracuse fan, I would still want to watch, because that's the guy who bleeds orange. So, look, I think the starting lineup's TBD. I do want to say, I mean, we did have this whole roster in place. I mean, the guys weren't announced, but the tournament knew who was going to be on our roster at the time they seeded us number 3. So just to clear that up, and but it's all good. I mean, anybody can win any game. So.
Well, actually, if they knew the roster was that when they seeded you at 3, then they seeded you too low. Because I thought they seeded you at 3 based on normal. If you had Kennedy and Kane, you should have been a 2 or a 1. So actually, that's surprising. If you're saying they knew this beforehand, that's surprising in the seeding because frankly, that seems low actually if they knew the roster in hands. I'm glad you brought up Eric Devendorf because he's been a offensive engine for your team for years. He's been someone you've basically spread high, given him the rock. It's going to be nice to be able to let him go off the ball occasionally a little bit more now and let him rest his legs and not have to be responsible for 30 minutes of offensive creation the entire time.
He said to me probably the last 3 years, he's brought me over to the side during a practice and says, or on the way leading up to the tournament, just said, hey, I'm ready to take a step back this year. I don't need to start, it can be on other guys. But then we start practice and start the game, and he's the best player on the floor. So he's just he's a gamer. And something that's important for me, putting the roster together, it's having young, active, healthy, athletic, and guys who are still playing. He hasn't played professional basketball in 5 years outside of the tournament. So he's working out all year round. But it's actually insane what he's doing to teams every summer. And his stats, I mean, speak for themselves. I don't know if there's a game he shot under 50% from the field, and you don't see that as a shooting guard. You see that for centers, he's never had, knock on wood, a bad game in the tournament. And, I think that he's a first ballot TBT Hall of Famer without question.
Good question.
Yeah, so Kevin, looking at Forces of Seoul, so obviously a lot of unknowns here. Don't know a lot about this team. So obviously you probably started doing a little bit of your initial research. So who sticks out on this team? Who should you guys be concerned with and fans should be watching for?
Yeah, look, I think they got some good size. I remember Bernie Macklin was a good player at Florida, and we've got some guys that have played against some of these guys. I think. Ryan Blackwell, who's our assistant coach, he played and coached in Japan as well. So he's familiar with a lot of these guys and has kind of given us the lowdown, the scouting report on their squad so far.
Yeah, it's kind of funny asking about who she can charge. They're going to play a 2-3 zone. It doesn't really matter. They're going to put 2 guys in the front, 3 in the back, and they can run whatever the hell they want. But the people they're playing against are almost unimportant. They're going to run. So it's just kind of funny. I mean, I do want to ask you though, Kevin, is this one thing that stands out about this roster you have, which is different than Boeheim's team, especially, you always have a high quality roster, but you've had to rely on Devendorf a lot more for pure shot creation. You've put shooters around him, bigs around him. This roster has a lot more of individual shot creators than you've had in the past. Is that going to really help you diversify your offense?
That was the plan. I think that the 2 biggest things we needed coming off of last year were guys who could create for others and skilled big men. We had a lot of great shooters on the team last year, but we weren't putting them in positions to succeed. So it doesn't matter how many guys you think can shoot 40-45% from 3. If you can't get them good looks, then what's the point of even having them out there? So we think we've got dead eye shooters, but we have the combination of Tyrese Rice and Kiefer Sykes, that, those guys can go get 20 points on their own pretty easily, but they're going to draw so much attention and make just all these other guys look good. Andrew White, you put him in a gym by himself, the guy's not going to miss. You put Malachi Richardson, Malachi Richardson shot 87% from corner threes in the G League bubble. Like, the guy is a machine. So Tyler Lydon is a 45% 3-point shooter, is a 6'11" guy. So just excited for us to put it all together, and hopefully the theory works out.
So Malachi Richardson will not miss the new 3-point contest. You don't need to move around. So can we bank on a Canton Charge alumni participating in the 3-point contest this year then?
Which Charge alum is on the team?
Richardson.
It's going to be another guy who played in the G Leagues, but I guess not for the Charge, unfortunately.
Go with White.
Yeah.
Who's the rebounder?
Richardson would win the thing. Come on.
Sean Belbey, the assistant GM and assistant coach, and younger brother will be the rebounder.
Fair enough.
Who you guys putting in, Jeff? Who's going to be your 3-point shooter?
Our 3-point shooter is probably going to be Jeff Moss.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Jeff Moss, knocked down 3-point shooter in college, still is in the pro leagues he plays in. And then rebounder probably going to be Ed Daniel.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Interesting twist. Obviously, TBT is always trying to be a little different and innovate. So looking forward to that 3-point contest. And, the rebounder is going to be that unsung hero, can make or break there. So should be fun to watch and see how it plays out live. So, and you guys get the second weekend, so you'll probably get some tips and see how it plays out and what success looks like. So good luck to you both in the 3-point contest.
So we're in the picks now, and obviously, Kevin, don't be mad. I picked Forces of Seoul, and I didn't do that actually. But this is actually a pretty interesting. We almost had a clean sweep. Alan's not here to defend his pick of Heartfire, but it's not a terrible pick. That's actually, even though we all picked Overlooked, with the exception of Alan. It is a kind of interesting team. So that could be a pretty fun game. Charge. Why is Alan's pick not dumb?
I mean, just what I talked about. I think last year was a fluke. I don't think this is 11 seed. I don't think they should be seeded better than the Overlooked or in that lower end 1 through 6. But I think last year they struggled. They didn't come out and play well. I think this year they're going to be a little more prepared. And this is going to be another one. I mean, TBT always has some dramatic games and some exciting games. And even though I picked Overlooked, I think this one here is going to be a battle that's going to come down to the last couple possessions. And Overlooked, I just like Kanan, and I think he can take over the game. And the only way I'd tried to recruit Kanan, I really think a Unix team would have looked great into TBT this year. They had a lot of Americans on that team, and they were phenomenal. So I think Kanan's going to just do enough to will Overlooked over Heartfire. But Heartfire is deep. Michigan State guys, Baylor guys, they're going to be ready to play, and we'll put up a good fight. But we're going to give it to you, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff, what do you think about this? Like, would you have preferred a clean sweep, or do you need that little bit of bulletin board material?
We're Overlooked for a reason, so a clean sweep wouldn't help us. That wouldn't do anything for us. So I understand Heartfire. I actually think Heartfire is underseeded anyways. So I definitely don't think they're an 11 seed. So I'm actually kind of surprised that it is 4-1. But with Isaiah, it's not too shocking. So it's about right. I feel pretty confident with the guys we have and with the roster we have.
All right, then. Obviously, Boeheim's, I don't think any surprise here. Forces of Seoul is quite the unknown. You guys came in and shook the TBT world, which for the factors that we talked about. So Kevin, thoughts on this matchup? Anything you want to add?
No, I mean, look, we're coming ready to play. So you don't have to look too far. You look at last year. People seem to forget. And there's no disrespect. I have a lot of respect for their program, and them winning helped motivate us to come back. Carmen's crew winning the championship, and then last year the whole tournament in Columbus, and getting it balanced that early. It's a good reminder that you can't take anybody for granted. You have to come ready to play every single game. I think that winning 6 games in a row is pretty much the hardest thing to do in sports. These games are designed by TBT to intentionally be close. The rules dictate that. It's a short game. The Elam ending, anything could happen, right? This is the length of a high school game. You can't beat teams by 20 points. with that short of a game and stoppages. So anything could happen. And, you know, Forces of Seoul, Overlook, you know, Heartfire, just anybody that we play, we have to, it's from the opening whistle to the final Elam ending buzzer beater. That's why we've got, you know, a deep roster and guys that are gritty, veteran experience to give everything we got.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I've always thought that, but I've never really thought about the exact reasons they're close. Right, the shorter game, the ending, the time frames. It does make it artificially slightly closer. Like there's fewer data points to go from, obviously. Jeff, as we're closing out, any chance? I saw John Morant was playing in the Pro-Am down in Miami. Think you can get him out for a game or two? Ask the Memphis Grizzlies fan.
Get him out for a game. It's like, we're going to try to get him out as a coach. We're going to try to make that happen. We're going to try to get him the mini camp and try to get him to coach the team a little bit. That's what
Fair enough. Well, gentlemen, thanks for coming on. We have Kevin Belbey, the GM of Boeheim's Army, and Jeff Martin, the GM of Murray State, coming by. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming by.
Hayner, tell your girlfriend to say hello.
And I want to say a brief thing as we sign. Yeah, I'll tell you as when you said hi. Yeah, and I want to say a brief note as we sign off. This is our last taping prior to the tournament starting. You guys will probably see us as I do the editing. But thank you all to all of our guests for our season 2. We will have a few more tapings during the event, but this is our final pre-event taping. We'd like to thank all the people who have helped us, and we want to thank everybody for also letting us into the community, making me in charge a part of it, and also giving us something that helped us get through a tough year with the pandemic and everything. So thanks to all of you for letting us into your community. Charge, anything you want to add to that last thought real quick?
No, I think you framed that up good. Really appreciate all the guests like Kevin and Jeff, be generous with their time and, helping us put together the show. So thanks again, guys, for jumping on. Appreciate it.
Hey, if I could say real quick as we close, I just want to say that I'm the GM of Boeheim's Army, but I think before that, I'm a fan. So I do this because I'm a fan. It's fun for me, and you guys make the tournament fun. So I want both of you guys to know that all of the TBT community supports you guys, especially, the recent losses that you guys have had, and that this show is really special, and we all enjoy it. I tell you, every morning I listen to the gym when there's a new episode, and excited to hear you guys the next month or so too.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate
Gentlemen,
it.
It's been ZoomTheTBT, completing our Peoria previews. See you guys in a few days when the games start.
Hope you enjoyed listening to ZoomTheTBT with Charge and Hayner. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitter, and give us your money.